evening.
Good evening.
I tell you what, the last couple of years in the south has been really hot.
Yeah. And even here, I'm in Cheshire. Even here, even when it's not been sunny, it's been quite heavy and muggy. So either way, it's sort of hot and sticky and not very comfortable to cool down in the evenings, particularly when you're wanting to go to bed. So it's been quite tough.
Yeah. And that's what we're talking about tonight, about struggling to sleep in the heat.
Yeah.
Because I find it,
you've
been to bed. I find it very go to sleep because of the eating and everything, and I get all stuffy and
yeah, and that's a thing, isn't it? Because I mean, there's all sorts of things that we do that we think we should do. Like a lot of people will think, oh, I won't sleep in my PJs. I'll sleep in the nude. Well, actually, that's not always a good idea, because sometimes if you're sleeping in natural cotton pajamas, they will actually soak up the sweat, the perspiration, and help you feel cooler and more comfortable. So sometimes it's important to actually think, hang on a minute, just throwing everything off and sleeping in the nude, you wake up and you're a bit chilly, or it doesn't particularly help you cool down. So sometimes having those PJs on, the pajamas on or something, it is better than actually sleeping in the nude. So that's a thought.
Yeah. How can we get sleep in the nude?
Well, there's a few things. I mean, one thing is that people sometimes will keep the windows open all day, and the curtains open, the windows open all day. Well, if you're going to do that, you're often better off keeping your curtains closed, even if your windows are open, because warm air will be coming into your bedroom, and actually people who suffer with hay fever might find that the air gets full of pollen and such like because it floats in. So sometimes if you're going to keep your windows open in the day, keep your curtains closed, because they actually keep the room cooler, and that's an important thing to do. And at night, sometimes it's a good idea to have towels, dampen your towels, put them over your towel rail and over the curtain rail, and then the warm air is filtered through the towels as it comes into your room. So that can be a good way of cooling the air down too. Or indeed, some people will have a fan on overnight and they have a jug of iced water in front of it, and again that cools the air down as it circulates in your bedroom. So there are a couple of tips to actually cool the air down a little bit.
Yeah, we've got three fans going the other one. We've got
yeah. The problem with fans is, of course, if you're not careful, all they're doing is circulating warm air. So if you want the air to cool down, that's why I suggest that sometimes putting a jug of iced water in front of it actually allows the air to cool and get absorbed, the iced water to get absorbed into the air, and that circulates a little bit. That can cool the air down a little bit. So it's just a thought.
Yeah. So how can somebody say like me, when I go to bed, get all kind of and I just find it really difficult to sleep at night, because what I do, I put the quilt on me, get the quilt on me, and actually show up work. I wake up to night. And I'm shivering sometimes.
That's the thing. You do. You lose a couple of degrees as you go to sleep, and then you wake up and you're a bit chilly, and then you're covering yourself over. So, what some people like to do is to put their sheets, the bed covering, the duvet cover, whatever, in the freezer to cool it down. Now, the thing with doing that is you better make sure you seal it, or you really seal it, because otherwise it will get damp inside the plastic bag. So you really have to seal it in a plastic bag. But you could chill your duvet cover, your sheets, your pillowcases that way, so long as you really, really seal them, and then they will be nice and cool for you when you come to bed. The other thing is to maybe think about feet. For some people, their feet are the turning point. If their feet are hot, they can't sleep, and sometimes maybe having a damp or a cool flannel or something that you put your feet on, or have your feet stuck out of your bed covers at the end, can be another good tip that helps you to actually keep your body cool, rather than your whole body, just your feet, and let the warm air almost vent out of your feet. That can be another good tip too. For sure. And it's not always a good idea. I mean, some people will think that, if I have a cold shower or a cool shower before I go to bed, that's going to cool me down. But actually what happens is all it does is it kicks your metabolic rate into heating you up a bit. So sometimes if before you go to bed, rather than have a really cool shower, it's better to have a warm shower rather than a hot one. Just wash away the day's perspiration, the day's sticky stuff, the day's dust or whatever it might be, and have a warmer shower rather than a cold one. But that can actually cool you down, bring your body temperature down a little bit before you go to bed as well. That's another good tip.
Now what with 18? If it was windy, I would open all the windows in the house all night long.
Yeah.
But the trouble is, we got to be short.
Well, that's what I was saying before, that actually having all the windows open, all the curtains open, actually doesn't just let the warm air in and has it hanging in your bedroom. It actually lets in all the pollen and the dust and the stuff off the trees. So you're better off, if you're going to do that, keep your curtains closed during the day to keep the room temperature down a little bit rather than letting the warm air in. And at night, as I say, if you dampen a towel and hang it over your curtain rail, that can be a good filtration system to actually catch the pollen, the dust of the air, whatever, and stop it coming into your bedroom. And that might be a thought for, managing hay fever symptoms, managing the pollen and the stuff that comes into the bedroom. Just try it, because I know quite a few people have found that to be quite a successful tip to help them.
Right. How about medical conditions?
With what conditions, sorry?
Well, medical conditions. Now, I've got sleep apnea.
Right.
And sometimes I find it difficult to sleep when you've got breathing.
Well, people with sleep apnea, that's a slightly different. I mean, when it's hot weather, it's difficult anyway. But finding ways, you have had tips, no doubt, from your doctor about, position to sleep in. You may have gadgets, you may have devices for your chin, your mouth, your throat. Taking on board all of those things and adding in some of the stuff that I've mentioned now. So little tips like perhaps lavender oil on the pillow can maybe help, the shower before you go to bed. Keeping hydrated, that's always important. I think one of the things with sleep apnea is about the difficulty breathing. But if people are on medication and they have trouble sleeping anyway, unfortunately the heat does make it worse, because if you've got restless legs, if you've got difficulty breathing, if you are prone to aches and pains and discomfort, then the hot weather unfortunately just adds to it. And it is about perhaps working around that, trying to sort your bedroom out, sorting out the air conditions, sorting out the position of your pillows, sorting out what you're actually wearing when you go to bed at night, keeping, as I say, hydrated. And another thing is about exercise. Some people love to have a run or a speedy walk before they go to bed. Well, at this time of the year, when it is very, very warm, tone that down a little bit. You don't need to get your metabolic rate kicking up a notch. So maybe instead of going for a run, go for a walk, but get the fresh air, practice breathing deeply and well, and allow yourself to be exercised, but perhaps not as energetically as you might normally do on a cooler day. So it's just taking on board some of those things, getting a good position, managing your stress in your life, looking after yourself well, particularly when it's very hot.
Yeah. I would really dig out your old No, really. Fill it with cold water, ice cube, and you have a first spoon in hay to keep your temperature down.
I'm not hearing you very well. So you're saying have a glass of water with ice in it?
No. Dig out your hot water bottle.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah, it can be a good idea to put your hot water bottle in the freezer even. So wrap it in a towel and put it in there and have something that you are able to have near your head or your face, or as I say, your pillowcases, so long as you've sealed them tightly so they don't get damp. But think, a hot water bottle that you can put your feet on even these can all be nice tips to help you cool down a little bit so that you are able to literally, you see, the thing is, we think that we want to be warm and cozy in bed, but if you think about it, animals hibernate in winter. The reason why they hibernate in winter is because it's cooler. And so when we're able to get ourselves cool, we automatically want to go to sleep. We don't particularly, as animals, aspire to sleep when it's warm and hot and bright. So, having a cooler temperature, doing things that help us feel a bit cooler when we go to bed are great ways of actually allowing us to go into that sort of more relaxed state and doze off as a little bit cooler, because that's important to support that process.
Yeah, I'm also reading here that put your socks in the fridge.
Put your socks in the fridge. Absolutely, yes. I mean that. Yeah, that can be good. Having cool feet is certainly important. I mean, the whole thing about sleep anyway is a difficult one. I think we've talked about sleep in the past, and sleep anyway is one of those things that 90% of adults say they don't get enough sleep. So sleep is already, one of those things that's at the top of the list of concern for many people. So the fact that the weather's hot and it's difficult to go to sleep, and we may be staying up later than normal, we may be having a few more beers than we normally do if the football's going our way or whatever. So there can be all sorts of things that interfere with our ability to switch off. Lighter nights, warmer nights, or all these sorts of things, entertaining people as we come out of lockdown, being a little bit more open and receptive to life out there, mixing and meeting with people, or indeed some people are very stressed about that. So all the different factors that add in that inhibit our ability to have a clear mind and go off to sleep at night, these things can get in the way of us sleeping well.
Do you think we should have a sleep diary?
Do I think we should have a
sleep diary?
A sleep diary. I think there's pros and cons to that. I think if we are constantly monitoring what we're sleeping or what we're drinking or what we're eating or whatever, we might become more aware of it, but I'm not always sure that's a good thing. We don't necessarily need to be. I mean, I know when I do a lot of work for the BBC that the people who get up early, I mean, I used to have to be in at, getting up at 4:20 to get in early to do some of the radio shows that I was on. And all the presenters ever talked about was how much sleep they had, and I missed 10 minutes here and I missed 15 minutes there. So I think it can be that we get a little bit obsessed about it, but it can, some people have apps on their phones or on the watches where they monitor how much sleep they've had, what kind of sleep they've had, whether they've been restless or not. I think anything we fixate on can become problematical. So, yes, it's okay to kind of know about it, but does it make any difference, or does it make us obsess a little bit more about it? So it depends what works for you. If you find something that actually helps you, does it help you? You're probably better off listening to a relaxing sleep meditation than worrying about how much sleep you're getting or not getting. And sometimes just getting better sleep hygiene, where we go to bed a little bit earlier and we prepare for bed before we go to bed, and we wind down a little bit and we have a walk around the block, or we listen to some nice music, we maybe do a little bit of yoga. All those things are probably more beneficial than tuning in and monitoring how much sleep you're actually having. So it's kind of doing what works for you and not obsessing about it too much.
And also releasing your phone at night.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people, the last thing they do at night is they're just checking in. I'll check on social media, I'll check my emails, I'll just look up this piece of information, and they wake up in the morning and the first thing they do is reach the phone. I often suggest to my clients that they put their phone, I mean, my phone is on the landing charging overnight, so it's not even in my bedroom. And I can hear it. If somebody rings me, I would hear it. And it's not something that I need to be necessarily conscious of for a few hours. Whoever it is, unless it's an emergency, can wait. So I think having distractions, personally, I don't even want a television in my bedroom. So I think having a lot of these things outside and keeping your bedroom as a sort of oasis, where it's tech free, it's gadget free, you're just literally going in there to relax and chill and maybe read a book or something, but not be too obsessed about having your sleep or being in constant touch with things either. So that's why I suggest winding down for an hour or so before you go to bed, because I think that is an important thing to do, to treat sleep as important, not just something you grab at the end of the day when you finally can fit it into your life.
Yeah. Friendly.
Yeah.
How often do we read our sleep? How many hours?
Well, it depends on the individual, but they reckon between about 6-7 hours sleep is usually fine. So some people manage on less than that. For me, I always say rather than the hours, about 6 to 7, maybe 8 hours is good. But it depends on the individual. It depends on what quality of sleep you're having. Are you having fitful sleep where you're waking up throughout the night, or having disturbing dreams and having different thoughts and things that are interfering, so you wake up in the morning feeling bedraggled? So for me, it's about the quality of sleep. So I think the whole thing is about, I use the word sleep hygiene. I think having good sleep hygiene where you prepare for bed, you treat sleep as important. It's not just an add-on that you fit in when you can. You know, it's a misnomer to think that we manage on no sleep all week and then crash all weekend and catch up, because it's not a bank that you pay into and draw out of. You're better off. It's healthier to have a consistent amount of sleep every day rather than trying to catch up at weekends and, borrow in the week. So kind of treating sleep as something that is important, that you have a good appointment with yourself that you need to keep on a regular basis, and that keeps your health topped up, it keeps your metabolic rate topped up, it looks after you and supports the things that you need to do mentally and physically in your life.
Yeah. Many people kind of like eat before they go to bed.
Eat before they go to bed, or sleep?
No.
Eat before they go to bed. Well, I mean, the problem with doing that is that you're not really getting the opportunity. Yeah, it's good to if you're eating a meal, it's good to have a little bit of time to allow your food to settle and digest a bit. But if you're eating and then going to bed, then all that food is doing is effectively being stored in your body. So it's far better to, if you're going to have something, maybe just have a herbal tea, or a milky drink even. That would be healthier than actually eating a meal. If you're having kebabs and burgers and chips and things and then going to bed, it's not, because you're on the way home. I mean, doing that kind of thing, we're human. Doing that kind of thing occasionally is fine. But if it becomes a way of life, don't wonder why you're putting weight on, or why you've got bad digestion, or your stomach's a bit off, because we are what we eat, and if we've got good habits, then those habits pay dividends for us.
Yeah. So what would you say to somebody who's having problems with sleep at the point of having a sleep?
Well, if somebody's having problems with sleeping, I would say, is this always been the case, or is this a fairly recent thing? Can you track when it started? You find sometimes women realise that they started sleeping badly after the birth of their children, and that was because they were concerned about sleeping through a crying child. and they didn't want to, so they learned to be extra alert when they went to bed, and they never really got over that. So I think the whole thing is about treating sleep as important, you know, having good habits where you wind down before you go to bed, you don't have that deep and meaningful fractious conversation, you do nice things before you go to bed, maybe have a bit of yoga, listen to music, have a walk around, you know, have a nice warmish shower, and just treat sleep as important, and try and get a decent amount of sleep, but go to bed a little bit earlier if you're needing to catch up, rather than survive on less and less sleep. And these things are important.
There you go. Leigh. She's always got good advice. Really
Thank
good
you.
advice. Lovely woman. Okay, guys, thanks very much. I'm going to be back around for our day. If you stay there for a minute. So be careful, guys. It's been we're serious, but enjoy yourself. And remember, tomorrow